Hey, friends. Happy, what I like to call Friday Eve. I am Abby, and I am committed to providing you with doses of motivation and positivity through 90 seconds in the Word. Listen, we are now past the midpoint, so we're going to dig in even more. And we need to dig in because we're going to feel challenged even more as we continue to fight the good fight of faith. But remember what I said yesterday, it's a fixed fight. We just need to just hang in there and do our part. Our verse of today comes from Luke chapter 8, verse 50. And it says, "But Jesus, hearing him, replied, 'Do not be afraid, only believe, and she will be healed.'" Some versions say, "and she will be made whole." Now, to understand the verse, we need to understand the context and what was leading up to it and what was going on at the time. And Jesus was responding to Jairus, I hope I said the name right, a father who had a daughter who was ill and was anxious for the daughter to be made well and was anxious for Jesus to touch the daughter. And his faith in Jesus and his belief is what Jesus is responding to. Now, what is unique about what's going on in the passage at the time is that on his way with Jairus to get to his daughter is where Jesus encounters the woman with the issue of blood. Or really, we could look at it the other way. The woman with the issue of blood encountered Jesus. And if we take a step back again and really understand the context and culturally what the implications were, when a woman had her cycle or any type of bleeding, she was considered unclean. No one was to touch her. And here was this woman who was dealing with an issue of blood for years and years and years, and what that might have looked like for her in terms of life, in terms of isolation. But even in her respect for Jesus, she was like, okay, I don't want to necessarily touch him. I can't do that. But if I just touch the hem of his garment, I could be made whole. And she was. And he turned around and he blessed her for her faith, the same way he's doing with this father. So my question to you is based on your level of faith today, would Jesus bless your faith? Do you believe that God is going to bless your faith? Because he is. We already talked about those times when it's challenging that we hold on to faith the size of a mustard seed and we can move mountains. God is going to bless your faith. Whatever it is that you're believing him for can be made well and can be healed. But are you in a place to believe it and receive it? We talked about asking God even for confirmation. And I'm not big on always looking for a sign of this, a sign of that, because the enemy can twist that as well and confuse us. But I believe that God gives confirmation along the way. What confirmation has he given you? That even if what you're praying for has not manifested, you can still hold on and believe that he will bless your faith and that your finances can be made whole, relationships can be made whole, job situations can be made whole. Believe it. Now, what I also want you to do is to look at the list of things, because I asked you to have that faith, to write it down, to speak it out in prayer. Don't be afraid to ask God if what you're presenting to him is in alignment with what he wants for you. Don't be afraid to do that. There are a couple of things that I had not had on my list that God made me put on the list to really elevate my faith. This faith walk and faith journey, I always say, is never for the faint of heart. But I tell you, it's something when God is able to blow your mind. But we can put ourselves in so much anxiety, stress, worry, and honestly, just emotional sickness when we struggle to believe what we believe. I never said it was easy, but I said with faith, it makes it possible. Believe it. Know that God can do it. Continue to trust him. Elevate your level of trust and faith by presenting those things to him and say, God, is there anything on this list that you need me to remove? Is there anything that I need to add that I haven't considered? And be brave enough to do it and allow God to bless your faith. We're continuing to move forward, and I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. So many of you, I know there's deep things that you're believing God for restoration of marriages, for the opening of wombs in terms of fertility, for full restoration and healing in your body, for employment that you've been praying for the longest time. Restoration in terms of relationships, of children coming home, marriages being restored, so many things. Elevate your faith so that God can bless your faith, and trust that wherever he leads, whether a door opens or he shows you that a door needs to be stayed closed, trust that he knows what is best. Give him your faith so that you can walk in complete maturity and lack nothing. Stay encouraged, friends, and I'll talk to you soon.